Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me a little bit later than usual. I hate being late like this, but unfortunately, I was just talking to someone who I have nothing but admiration for. Very, very good guy and a good attorney, a warrior. We had Ron Baruti is an attorney out in New Jersey, and Ron is doing some great work. Guys, if you don't know his work, make sure you're looking it up. It's Ron Baruti, Berutti. Ron Baruti. Good guy out in New Jersey. And I was just talking to him. We're going to have him on the show. We run into some technical issues with it, so we're gonna schedule him for another day. But Ron is doing some incredible work on the trans issues. Now, New Jersey, for anybody that doesn't know, is an absolute nightmare for parents, for anybody who cares about their kids and cares about taking care of their kids. They've got some of the most egregious pro-trans, pro just gender dysphoria disorder type stuff in the country for school kids. And Ron is fighting right now in the courts to protect kids. The schools in New Jersey have policies across the board where if your son or daughter goes to school and your son wants to pretend he's a girl or your daughter wants to pretend she's a boy and wants to do this transition stuff, not only do the schools have to call your son or daughter by whatever name they want them to and call them, by whatever pronouns they want them to, they also can't tell the parents. This is an unbelievable violation of parental rights, right? This is a horrific thing. Imagine that the school is helping your child with this nonsense, this gender nonsense, and calling your kid different names, doing all these things, and you don't even know it, right? Think of what kind of damage this could do to your child psychologically. Because we all know that this gender transition surgery and this gender transition nonsense, I mean, at this point, we know it's based on fake science. We know it's garbage. We know it's not real. We know it doesn't work. It's all came out. The studies that suggested that there was some benefit to feeding into this have been disproven. It is straight up trash from beginning to end. So Ron is actually fighting this, and he's seeing some success. And I'm going to be talking about that here at the beginning of the show. It's really a profoundly important thing, and it's the kind of thing that we really got to get behind and support him. Now he's going to have a hearing coming up in the not too distant future, and we're hoping that he gets a permanent injunction on this to protect our kids from this absolute absurdity. I mean, you don't come back from this, right? Your kids get this trans surgery, they don't come back from it. It's a permanent thing. I mean, you get on the hormones even, and it screws up your hormones for the rest of your life. You can't fix this. And the idea that the schools, against potentially the parents' will, would support something that may result in the parents having to deal with, lifelong health issues for their kids, and then their kids, I mean, these are minors. We don't let children vote. We don't let children buy a gun or join the military. We don't let them do anything, but yet we're going to allow them to make health decisions that are against, any sort of sensible science, and with these lifelong repercussions. It's insanity. It's insanity. So I want to get into all that. Before I do, we need some support. We need some help. So please, if you can, go to givesendgo.com/RenzLaw, givesendgo.com/RenzLaw, and support us there. Support us however you can. Your donations mean a lot to us, so we're thankful for them. Please donate however you can. Whatever you can, it helps. We keep fighting, and there's no government money coming our way because we stick with the truth. So do that. Also, make sure you go to www.tomrenz.com. And as you can see, we got all sorts of people here, all sorts of good companies. But you go to shop, partners and affiliates, scroll down, and here you see our link to men's hormone support and Global Healing. Global Healing is, to my mind, one of the best supplement manufacturers on the planet. I've been through their factory. I spent time with Ed and John Group, who are the founders, the brothers. And these guys have a passion for making sure that we have access to healthy supplements. These guys go out and they make sure that their sourcing is good, right? So they don't buy plants that were grown in glyphosate-ridden fields. They don't buy, materials from bad places. All of their sourcing, all their materials are the best materials you can get. They take those materials to their factory. I've been through their factory. It is spotless. It's the cleanest factory I've ever seen. They use special water filtration, so the water in your supplements isn't there's no chemicals or additives. They use special bottles. They have glass bottles. I can show you right here. This is my bottle of men's hormone support. Glass bottle, a glass stopper. Everything in it is just custom, and it's just the finest supplements on the market. If you care about your health, if you want good vitamin D, if you want good vitamin C, if you want good anything, check out Men's Hormone Support. Check out Global Healing. Make sure you tell them Renz sent you. Use our link, and I think globalhealing.com/Tom Renz. Make sure you're checking it out. Okay, let's get to it. Guys, jump in the chat if you want. We're going to be watching the chat. I'm going to be talking with you. We may go a little bit short tonight. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see how it goes. But I want to talk about what's happening in New Jersey to start out with, because, listen, when we look at one of the things happening in this country that are bad, at the top of the list is what we're doing to children. I mean, we see the children. I mean, they're getting brainwashed from social media. Social media is not good for kids. I'm sorry. I do a lot. I get it. I'm an influencer. I do a lot of work on it. I'm in the social media, but you know what? I'm sorry. Your kids don't need to be there. I didn't have social media when I was a kid. I'd like to think I turned out okay. My kids don't have social media. They're okay, right? So if you're going to give your kids social media, make sure you're watching and being very careful and limit what they're doing. Don't let them sit and doom scroll on TikTok for 10 hours a day or on YouTube. I mean, limit it, unless they're watching the Tom Renz Show on Rumble. That they can watch. They can watch that on repeat. Okay. I know. The irony of a guy on social media telling me to not let my kids use social media, right? But, we have social media. We have the schools that are brainwashing our kids into every sort of nonsensical thing you can imagine, teaching them to hate America, teaching them that America was never properly founded. They're just anti-American nonsense that we all know about. And at the top of the list, though, is this whole gender dysphoria nonsense, right? So gender dysphoria disorder is a diagnosable mental illness. It's not something that you embrace and say high five for having it. And it needs to be looked at that way. I'm not sure why we would ever say it's great if you've got this. Oh, we love that you got this, because there's nothing that this does but leads to bad health outcomes. Now, we got Royce White and Enos Cantor Freedom demonstrating the absurdity of this, with what they're doing in the WNBA. And I love that. I mean, these guys are funny as hell. And I frankly hope that they get drafted. I would love that. I would actually watch the WNBA. If Enos Cantor Freedom and Royce White are playing next year, I'll watch their games. I'll get a boot out of that, right? But our kids, the kids are the thing that we really got to watch, right? So in a case, so New Jersey schools, like I said, it's rough. The case, John Doe and Jane Doe v. John Cohen and Monmouth Regional High School Board of Education, right? This is in the courts right now, and it's a civil rights case. And again, Ron Baruti is behind this. A great guy, great attorney. And but if you're in New Jersey, reach out to John. Hey, G Talent, good to see you there. So Baruti's working on this case, and the case basically is this, right? So this Monmouth County family finds out that they've got a daughter in 9th grade, right? And the family finds out that their daughter, who, is their daughter, and at home, she's their daughter. When she goes to school, though, when she goes into high school, the staff are addressing her using a male name and male pronouns. They're calling him. They're calling her him. They're calling her, saying his, he, this, that, and other, right? And this isn't. It's a little girl. She's a little girl every day at home, but when she goes to school, they're doing that. Now, there's a school board. The school board has this policy, and it's board policy 5145.7. So within that, school administrators, they've got this, and it allows, actually requires personnel to facilitate a student's social transition, right? That's the policy. And it prohibits staff from informing their parents of these students without the student's consent. So if a kid wants to go in and pretend they're a boy when they're a girl, or vice versa, the staff is not only required to call them by whatever name they're making up, they're not allowed to tell their parents. So instead of recognizing, hey, this is not a good thing, if you're borderline, we don't want you to become gender dysphoric, instead of saying, hey, let's talk with your parents and see what we want to do, the school just feeds it. They just feed this. Think about this. Imagine if this was your son or daughter. Imagine. Think of the absurdity there. It's insane, right? So the problem is the parents found out about this, right? They found out about this, and they said, hey, no, we're not okay with this. And they demanded that the school start talking to their daughter like it's their daughter. Hey, this is her name. Her name. Refer to her as her, right? And the school says, no, we're not doing that. And so they sued, right? Now they sued under the 14th Amendment, and they sued under the right to direct care, upbringing, and health management of their children. And it's what's called these are civil rights cases. And generally, when you file a civil rights case like this in the federal courts, it's under a law called 42 USC 1983, right? And 42 USC 1983, part of the Civil Rights Act, and it's really an important law. Basically, and you know what? I'll just show you guys. Let me show you this. Here, let's bring this up. 42 USC 1983, civil action for deprivation of rights, right? And it says every person under the color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory or the District of Columbia subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within the jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution or laws shall be liable to the party injured in the action, in suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress, except that in any action brought against a judicial officer for any act or omission taken in such judicial officer's capacity, injunctive relief shall not be granted unless a declaratory decree was violated or declaratory relief was unavailable. This is a very, very broad law that allows you to sue the government when the government is essentially ignoring your rights. Now, the law has been very limited in some ways through a bunch of different case law. So for those of you that say, well, hey, I want to sue everybody for everything, there are substantial limitations to this law. And it's a tricky law to litigate, right? Because the courts are constantly trying to balance what's going on in the different branches of government with their role of keeping those branches honest. And G Talent, I agree with you. If my kids went to school like that, I'd pull them too. Homeschooling is a tough thing for some people. Because we live in a country now where both parents are generally having to work to make ends meet. So that can be a difficult thing. But, if you can find a better school, another school, problem is in some states like California or New Jersey or New York, that's a very difficult thing. I support the people who do the homeschooling, but it's not something everybody can do. And so, there's a whole lot of stuff to examine there. But I don't really want to get into whether homeschools are good or not. But it's interesting, right? So we've got this. Let me show you this. Someone put together a nice little Substack on this. Who is this? Math Goddess. Chaos and Control. Okay, so it's Chaos and Control Substack. Um, but what we see here is that there is an explosion of these kids who are saying that they're non-binary, right? And there's a nice little graphic. Let me show you. So in 2019, 2020, there were 16 of them. So go back to Trump 1. There weren't any kids like this, right? None of the kids were doing this. Get through to the Biden administration, who is promoting it everywhere. You get up to 761 kids, right? So it exploded, right? And then Trump comes back in and it starts going back down. So it's going in the right direction, but it's still, I mean, it's still a problem. And I don't care if it's one kid. This is an appalling thing, right? So they file this complaint. They file this and they go through this whole thing. And by the way, let me show you this. This is also useful. This graphic, it shows the grades, right? So you see that this non-binary thing is typically happening, kind of popping up in 9th, 10th, 11th grade. And then interestingly enough, you're seeing it drop by the kid's senior year in most cases. And the reason I would argue, and we don't know this, but I would argue that that's because, kids coming into high school, they're trying to find themselves, they're confused, trying to find their space. And as they get a little bit older, they realize how ridiculous this is. So this complaint's filed, and the parents are doing what they're doing. And Baruti Iran has been very successful so far, and he's actually got an injunction on this right now, right? It's a temporary, and we're going to see whether or not it becomes permanent. And this is very sensible. This is just common sense. Shouldn't a parent be able to decide what their kid's going to and not going to do? Shouldn't it be parents that decide whether they're okay with this or not? Now, I would argue that any parent that allows their kid to do this trans stuff is probably guilty of child abuse. But I mean, at minimum, a parent certainly has a role in this. I mean, imagine if this kid really believes that this is legitimate or a good thing, and they're getting reinforced from the school counselor's telling them, great, this is you being you, good for you. And, then they want to get onto gender affirming drugs, these trans drugs, the hormones and hormone therapies, or eventually leads to these surgeries. Well, these are lifelong health impacts. Once you as a child get on these hormones and these other things or hormone blockers, it never goes away. It's a permanent issue, right? So it's going to affect your health. And that's not arguable. There's no question about that, right? This is just, even mainstream science doesn't argue, even the most left-wing, even the most pro-trans nutbag out there, nobody's arguing that this doesn't impact your health in a lifelong way. As soon as you start doing this, it messes up everything. So the problem is these guys are doing this, and this leads to a real issue related to parental rights, right? And I want to kind of go through this because I don't think people realize how messed up the rules related to parental rights are. So I want to touch a little bit on parental rights because moms and dads, here's a news flash for you. You may think that you control your parents. And God bless you, G Talent. I lives in rural Oklahoma. It says it's not a thing there. You know what? It pops up everywhere a little bit. And yes, MD show, yeah, 100%. You go into these public schools is a little bit rough. But again, with the economy being so messed up, sometimes people have no choice. Not everybody can afford the homeschooling. But I want to talk a little bit about parental rights, right? So the 14th Amendment is the foundation of parental rights, right? Because the 14th Amendment, it includes the due process clause. And that due process clause protects fundamental liberties, right? It protects them on a pretty profound level, including, now the Constitution doesn't list every fundamental liberty and right that you have. There's no explicit list of every single right that's out there. So what you got to do is look at this. So you got a whole line of Supreme Court cases that recognize that parents have a fundamental liberty interest in the care, custody, and control of their children. Now, the fact that we even had to question this is mind blowing, but the government has been trying to take control of our kids for over a century, guys, on a profound level. So going back to 1923, uh, it was recognized in a case called Meyer v. Nebraska that parents have the right to control their kids' education. Right? That's why you can homeschool. That's why you can pick what school they're going to. That you have a certain amount of control over your kids' education. And then in Pierce v. Society of Sisters, the court was very bold and said the child is not the mere creature of the state. Children do not belong to the state, right? Spare me your angst is right. Despite the best efforts of the teachers unions and the Democrats, the kids are not property of the state. Then in Troxel v. Granville, which is in 2000, fast forward, the court reaffirmed that the state cannot substitute its own judgment for that of a fit parent because it believes it's got a better decision. Now, this is important because a fit parent, what's that? There's a lot of legal room in this, and there's been a lot of stuff. Now, the state counterbalances with parens patriae, right, which is Latin, and it allows for them to protect people who can't protect themselves, right? That's the theory, right? So where they say, what the argument is that if a parent's choice poses a clear and present danger to child's safety or liberty, life or safety, the courts can jump in and declare emergency orders. And it's a tricky balancing act as a lawyer when I say, because here's the thing. If a child is truly a victim of abuse, and let's say a parent's going to kill their child, they're abusive, they're violent, they're angry, and they're legitimately nuts. Well, we want the courts to be able to come in and protect the child, right? Everybody agrees that on some levels that's necessary because there are nutbags out there that beat their kids senseless and do horrible things to their kids, and we don't want that. But the problem is the left, the Democrats, the nutbags out there are always pushing this. And so they're constantly arguing, well, yeah, but we're trying to protect the kid's life and safety, right? Now, when it comes to the trans issue, this should be pretty manifest, right? If you want to protect the kid's life and safety, don't let them do this. It's not a good thing. But in other cases, unrelated to the whole trans thing, this is something that is a little bit trickier. Now let me go into one. I'm sure this will surprise you all, right? So an example of where they are pushing this is vaccines, right? So you got Jacobson v. Massachusetts, which has been misconstrued for over a century now, that said that the state has the right to protect the community from epidemic disease. And that ruling was a very narrow ruling. And the big pharma world all likes to claim that gives them the right to essentially force vaccinate. The ruling was not that. The ruling allowed that you could issue a small fine in a very specific instance, and the court specifically said this doesn't apply in all cases. So it isn't that, but there's limitations, right? And the limitations become even more strict in certain cases. So, for example, you got religious freedom. Well, what if the family isn't abusing the kid and has a religious objection to the vaccine, right? So there, what you see is you've got the application of what's called the strict scrutiny standard under the law. And guys, I know I'm talking a lot of law stuff. I know we're in the weeds here. And, just if you got any questions, ask in the comments. I'll try and explain what I'm saying a little bit better. But what you see is in certain cases, they really put these higher standards, right? So, G-Talent, I see that you're asking about people who don't have the capacity to analyze the situation where you live. Well, I want to say this to you. I agree. There's a lot of parents that are just not paying attention. Um, I will say that I know a lot of good parents who are aligned with us, the people who care about this show, who care about our principles, but they simply can't afford to move. They can't afford to quit their jobs. They can't afford to do this. They can't afford to do that. Remember, the economic situation in this country is tough. And you also have to feed your kids. You also have to take care of your kids. And if you don't, the state will step in, right? So for some parents, they're in a pretty tight box on some of this. And when the schools disregarded, when the state disregards parental rights by trying to force things like vaccines or this trans stuff, well, it's a problem. Here's the problem right now. The current law allows for the courts to take certain actions where the life or safety of a child is at risk. So you've got that on one side. On the other side, you have a completely wildly corrupt Department of Health and Human Services. They keep approving things like the mRNA flu shot or the mRNA COVID jab, or we're getting ready, they'll approve this mRNA cancer jab. They'll approve all these sorts of things. And so what happens is, and this is where medical kidnapping comes into play, right? What happens is you'll get a do-gooder, maybe a school administrator, whoever says, hey, the parents aren't taking care of their kid because the kid's not vaccinated. And they'll go to the courts and say, hey, this kid's life is at risk because this kid could get this life-ending disease based on that this vaccine could stop. This is where this is going. What happens? Well, we're one bad precedent away from the courts recognizing that on a higher level. And if they do that, even though we have all this fraud in the science, all this fraud related to vaccines and that sort of stuff, imagine that sort of a precedent. And then if you don't get your kid jabbed, they say, hey, this is strict scrutiny. You got to get your kid vaccinated because your kid could die. And we're if you don't get this shot, you're going to take your kid. That's kind of where this is going, right? Now, in the transgender space, it's a little bit less defined, right? Because it's so clear how bad transgender nonsense is for kids. So the SCOTUS in 2025 in U.S. v. Scrimeti upheld Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapies. So we know that at least under the Scrimeti, the court recognizes that this isn't a positive thing. I think we can say that the court recognizes that the trans stuff isn't a life or death issues where they're going to force it in this way. So this is a pretty big deal. But what they've done is they've kind of deferred to state legislatures to do this. So under Scrimeti, the states can still regulate this with quite a bit of flexibility. I mean, they should have just outright banned it, but they left the states quite a bit of stuff. And they applied a rational basis review on it. And that's just, it was the wrong way to go in my opinion. It should have been a much higher standard. But at least they limited it a little bit. And it was a win for Tennessee. It wasn't the win I would have liked to have, but it's there. So now the conflict has kind of shifted, and there's a lot of stuff about funding this, right? So this administration isn't funding any of it, so that makes it a little bit easier. But the second we get a Democrat administration, we're going to have problems. And spare me your angst. You're right. These tranny activists. They don't believe that they don't believe that just because I got something between my legs means I'm a boy, and they don't believe that you don't have something there, you're a girl, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's being illustrated right now with this WNBA thing. That's why what Royce White and Enes Canton Freedom and these other guys are doing is so important. At the end of the day, you are what you are, and I've said this a bunch of times. I can get tattoos of scales all over my body. I can sew a fake dinosaur tail on my ass, and I can walk around and say roar, but it doesn't make me a dinosaur, right? I can tell you I am whatever I am, but what I really am is just an idiot or a guy with a mental disorder. But in either case, reality doesn't change. There's an X and a Y chromosome, and depending on the combination of chromosomes, you're going to be what you are, right? So there's that. Um, these school notification policies are a big deal, and it's not fully settled, and we're seeing some real move there. So this case that Ron's got going on is a really it's a critical case, because the idea that a state can allow, or any sort of an governmental institution can usurp the role of the parents to the extent that they don't even tell the parents about certain behaviors and certain things going on that could result in the parents having to hold the bag on this is just insane. It's insane. Now, your kid keeps going down that path. Your kid keeps believing they're trans and this, that, and other, and eventually you're dealing with this gender therapy and these other such things. So, yeah, that's this whole thing is a mess, but I'm very, very excited to see what Ron gets done on this case, and I hope people support him on this. So, more coming. We'll get Ron on the show coming up, and we'll talk firsthand with the guy who's actually doing the fight on it. But it's a big deal, and we need to do it. We got to protect our kids, and we really have to reiterate, and we have to go back to parents controlling their kids, right? In any case, beyond just outright abuse, parents get to decide what their kids do, right? Parents and kids, the family relationship is the foundation of this country. And what this really is about destroying the familial relationship. They don't want parents to raise their kids. They want the state to be able to raise their kids. And that's kind of where we're at on it. So yeah, we're going to have to take a stand on this. God willing, this will work out. But it is what it is. So that's that. I want to get into infighting, right? Before I do, I would like to tell you guys about Rumble Wallet. I love Rumble Wallet. I'm using Rumble Wallet. There's a lot of issues with what's going on in this space, but crypto is where things are going, right? And right now, to be real honest with you, you guys need to get some crypto in your pocket and make some money off of it, because it's going to happen one way or another. Trump's got the laws in place, and so it's going to happen. You might as well make some money off it. And if you're going to do it with someone you trust. So we hear a lot about this crypto, but the part that most people miss is that crypto was originally created so you could actually own and control your own money. It came about after the 2008 financial crisis. Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money and delaying transfers or limiting access, you get to control it yourself. It's on your phone. If you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear or felt that, you understand what that means. It's a problem, right? So now fast forward to today, and everybody's hearing of crypto, but getting started is still a little bit rough. If you want to get into crypto, do like I do. Use Rumble Wallet. It takes the complexity out. It's actually the most simple crypto solution I've ever found. I'm telling you, I use it. I like it. In fact, you can tip me on it if you want. Choose what you want. Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins. They actually even have gold-backed coins, which is the one that I'm in. I like the gold-backed because it's gold-backed. So yeah, I don't trust our currency right now, but I do trust gold-backed. No complicated setup. This whole thing connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, bank card, be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators, like me, directly. And all you got to do is scan the QR code there. If you scan that QR code, click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. You just get going from there. You can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to owning some. It's a great, great thing. I'd recommend you guys take a look at it. I do like the Rumble Wallet for crypto. So getting back to it, I want to talk about infighting. And I'm going to tell you what set me off here. I saw today. Let me just show you this. This was trending. Dan Bongino, Dan Bongina, who spent 5 minutes at the FBI and then sold out on everything he did. Guys, I'm sorry, I don't like infighting, but this is absurd. This is absurd, and there's a difference between standing on principle and infighting. So Bongino, he's attacking everybody right now. He's attacking people who support J6. He's the J6ers who were victims of just horrific fraud. He's attacking the walkaways. So you guys know about the walkaway movement. What's his name? Brandon Straka, right? So Brandon Straka does this walkaway movement. I think it started in 2018. And Straka was talking, hey, let's get these liberals away from the left. Let's get them to join, MAGA, pro America, pro this, pro that. So Straka has been, trying to get liberals away from liberalism for a while, which is a good thing. We like that, right? Well, Bongino's attacking them all, right? He's attacking them all because, according to Dan Bongina, who, do you remember, by the way, do you remember how fervent Bongino was about the Epstein stuff? Remember, he was going to, before he took the job at the FBI, he was going to, don't you ever forget Epstein. He gets the FBI, and the first thing he does is he lies to us about Epstein's suicide and then pretends that there's no one that belongs arrested. And apparently he was pretty conflicted because there were numerous stories about how Bongina was so upset he was going to quit, but he didn't, because he was instead he decided to sell out is what he did. I lost all respect for Dan Bongino. I have absolutely no use for this clown. So he's out there and he's attacking everybody. And he's attacking my friend General Flynn. And I like General Flynn. Good man. I've known him for a long time. The guy just wants America to be free. He's just fighting on that. And I'm sorry, if you don't believe me, you don't believe me. But I've known the man for quite a long time, and he's just a good man. And I'm sure he's done something wrong in his life. Everybody has. But the guy is fighting for freedom. Meanwhile, you got Bongina, who sold out every opportunity he had. He finally had a chance. He could have made a difference. He could have did some good things for this world. And instead, he sold out. He didn't have the courage and the strength to do what was right. He took the easy route. So Bongina is out there and he's attacking everybody. He's attacking Brandon Straka. I mean, the J6ers guy. Listen, we know what happened on J6. Pelosi, the Democrats, all these guys, they set it up. We know it was a Fedsurrection. At this point, if you don't know that, you're not watching. The fact that no one's been thrown in jail, G-Town, you were dead right. Bongino is he's just a fraud, in my opinion. If you don't know at this point that J6 was a Fedsurrection, you aren't paying attention. I actually, if you remember, right around election time, in fact, we released it right before the election, we put out a video. There was a reporter who infiltrated all these leftist groups, had all the information. It was caught. They're caught. The Democrats, the leftists planned this. It was 100% a plan. And listen, I don't care if you're mad at Trump right now or not. I mean, I'm mad at him about a lot of things. 2020 was stolen. And election fraud is not a good thing. It doesn't matter whether you're mad at Trump or not. Election fraud is something we've got to clean up. J6 was a Fedsurrection. I don't care how you feel. We need to unify on these issues, but we can't because women like Bongina. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to respect his gender identity as apparently a female because he whines and oh God, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. But these people like Bongina are out there, they're just selling out on every opportunity they can. And then they're attacking people because he knows damn well that this administration is not going after the people who are actually behind J6. He's not going to get justice for the J6ers. We're not going to get justice on COVID. I don't know why. I hope the administration changes directions, but to this point, it's become pretty clear that they aren't doing it. So Bongino was out there, and I was furious about this, right? I was absolutely furious about this because, this guy is just a coward. So I was a little fussy about it, which is kind of standard. And so I certainly I spoke up on it, but and replied on this. And I told him he's a sellout, he's a coward, right? But I want to talk about a different post that I had done. And I think it's very important because here's the deal. If you guys know me and if you know my story, I am a nobody from a little town, right? I'm just some guy who is doing his thing. COVID comes along. I start fighting, and suddenly everybody on the planet knows my work because we exposed all the COVID fraud. We were successful in figuring out what was going on, and we were largely behind the movement to open things up and to free our country. Yeah, we did a lot of legal work on it, a lot of political work on it, a lot of public work on it, education work. It was around the clock. We fought very hard on this. And in doing so, what I found is that there's fraud everywhere. Our whole government's a fraud. And I committed in my heart and in my mind to fighting for truth and for freedom on this. I believe that we have a duty on the right to hold ourselves to a higher standard. I am not a leftist. I am not a sheep. And I don't care who tells me that mRNA is good or that Operation Warp Speed was a success. It wasn't. It was an epic failure. I don't care who tells me that the Epstein list is fake. I don't believe them. I have decades of evidence. I don't care who tells me this nonsense. So I want to go into this, and I want to talk about this for just a minute. And I responded to Wall Street Apes, or I'm sorry, MJ Truth. And I want to tell you guys, I respect MJ Truth Ultra. We disagree on some things, but this person is always polite and always cordial, and definitely agrees with us on the mRNA. But he's a truther. He's a little bit more Q, and thinks that there's some sort of a grand plan. I don't see any grand plan other than the grand plan by the bad guys to screw us over, which seems to be working well. And he says there's a coordinated effort, meaning a coordinated effort to undermine Trump. This doesn't work for me, right? And let me explain. Let me tell you what I said. I said, are people coordinating to disagree with Trump on certain policies? And he had cited this event. And I said, I'm not a part of this and have no idea about coordination on anything. But if there's a coordinated effort to end this nightmare in Iran, to oppose more mRNA, to get justice against the people that have been trying to destroy America, and to actually push for a legitimate Maha agenda, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Shouldn't we be coming together? Shouldn't we be opposing these things? Why? Because Trump disagrees with me? I'm sorry. If you disagree with me on the things that I stand for, then you disagree with me. It doesn't mean I change my position. That's what the left does. The left waits for marching orders. The left just sits there. They wait for marching orders and then they blindly follow it like sheep. I'm not a leftist. I note to Wall Street Apes, you've spoken a lot about Israeli influence. You don't like mRNA. You don't agree. You agree with me that we need justice for the COVID crooks like Gates, Fauci, Borrell, etc. Why shouldn't we work together to accomplish these things? Why do I have to trust a plan that I disagree with or support Trump on everything, even when I disagree with him? I said blind trust and marching in lockstep is what the left does. I'm not a leftist. I'm not. I have no intention of being a part of a movement that is acting like them. I'm not going to join Bongino and his selling out. I have a spine. Unlike Dan Bongino, I have 2 testicles and a backbone. I'm not getting rid of them for a guy like Dan Bongino because someone offers me some money or a favor. I said, I don't trust a plan that includes creating and approving more mRNA. I don't trust a plan that includes flock cameras or axon cameras monitoring everything I do. I don't trust a plan that includes building 1 million data centers that will be used to facilitate CBDCs in a digital prison. I don't trust a plan that doesn't include justice for criminal elites like the Epstein class or the Soros crew. I don't trust a plan that includes allowing foreign nation to dictate our policies up to and including endless wars in places like Iran. And I refuse to be told that I have to support things that I find disagreeable because my leader tells me to. I'm not a sheep, I'm not a leftist, and I do not trust a plan that I'm not clued in on. If there's some secret plan, I would love someone to tell me about it. I'm pretty connected. I know a lot of people at this point. I am not. If there's a plan, tell us the damn plan, because right now we're going in the wrong direction. Right now we're going in the wrong direction. And yeah, MD show. 100% pre-captured Trump was absolutely a victim of the deep state. 100%. Now he's just swimming in the swamp. I don't know what to say about that. But I don't trust any plan that's not shared with me. I don't care. Our founding fathers didn't trust government. They were very clear about that. I'm with our founding fathers. And I want to talk about this is not infighting, guys. This is the difference between the left and the right. We on the right stand for things. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. But I am not a fanboy of anybody. I am here. I gave up my privacy. I gave up the life I was living. I gave up seeing my kids' soccer practices and football practices. I gave up so many things because I stood for something. I'm now doing a Rumble podcast, well, it's on a bunch of different platforms, but especially Rumble. I'm now doing a podcast and doing law all over the dang country and consulting and working on so many things. The life that I had built that I wanted to live is gone. It's never coming back. And I got to tell you, I was happy. I didn't do that so that I could sell out and become a spineless Dan Bongino coward. There's no money on the planet worth that. So I'm going to stand on principle, Dan. I'm going to stand for things that I believe in. I'm not willing to do what you did and take the green road. I'm not willing to sell out and to sell my soul and lie about people like Jeffrey Epstein and his friends who were raping kids. I'm not willing to lie. I'm not willing to pretend that the people behind J6 were anything other than the elites in Washington. We know the truth. You used to talk about the truth before you sold your soul. We have a duty on the right to stand on principle. And when our leaders do not reflect those principles, then they're no longer our leaders, they're someone else's. I will back a politician that reflects my values. The day they quit reflecting my values, I don't have to back that politician. If Donald Trump comes back to doing what he was doing in the first term, I'll be thrilled to death. I'll be happy as can be. But if he pushes another mRNA, I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm fighting it. If he's going to push to lie about this Epstein stuff, yeah, I'm fighting it. And I don't know how else to do this. That's not infighting. That's standing on principle. Infighting is, fighting over unimportant nonsense, going after people on your own side because they're a little bit different, this, that, and other. Infighting is not standing on principle against tyranny. That's what our founding fathers did. I mean, according to Dan Bongino, our founding fathers would have been infighting, right? They should have just went along with the king. If you follow Bongino, because that's what he wants us to do. Shut up and follow the king. I don't have a king, Dan. I didn't elect a king. I elected a guy who told me he was going to deport illegal aliens, who told me he was going to drain the swamp, who he told me he was going to get accountability for the people that had been destroying America. I elected a guy who told me that he was going to bring in Bobby Kennedy and let Bobby Kennedy do things that were actually Maha, not a guy who was going to try and fight to give immunity to glyphosate manufacturers when they cause poison. That isn't what I fought for. That isn't what I bought. And guess what? I don't have to shut up and follow a king. And yes, the founders certainly warned us about foreign entanglements. And I certainly didn't vote for a guy who was going to let foreign nations dictate our policy. I don't want to be in this war in Iran. Nothing good has come from it. We've accomplished nothing. We haven't stopped anything. All we've done is emboldened them. Trust me when I tell you that at this point, if we end up walking away, which I don't see another choice, Iran's going to sprint towards a nuke. They're going to sprint towards it because why wouldn't they? No one can stop them. That's all we've done is demonstrated that we can't stop them. That's what's going to happen. And guess what? Once they have it, then they can do whatever they want. Because then what are we going to do? This is the stupidest thing ever. And I didn't vote for this. This is not what I fought for. I fought hard for Donald Trump. I campaigned for him. I did rallies for him. I did everything I could. If Trump had done what he was doing the first term, except for Operation Warp Speed, I would have been very happy. But that's not what we've got. I hope he gets back to it. And if he does, I'll support him when he's doing the right things. Until he does, I'm opposed to what he's doing. Now, we've got election coming up, and we got some interesting things there. Let's see whether or not we get anywhere on this election fraud stuff. I'm hoping that we get somewhere. I'm hoping that the Trump administration will get some stuff done. I'm hearing some rumblings, and I might even be doing some things behind the scenes. I'm not going to say any more than that, but I do a lot of work in a lot of places, and all I care about is freedom. I don't give a damn how we get there. So let's see what happens. But if he does the right thing, if Trump does the right thing on election fraud and those sorts of things, kudos. I'll stand behind that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to support him on his mRNA Operation Warp Speed bullcrap. I'm never going to support that. It's wrong. He's wrong on it. And this is one of those things where none of this is personal. I don't know Donald Trump. He's just another politician to me. And right now he's a politician that's sold out. I'm hoping he comes back. Yeah, there you go. Spare me your angst. Lock her up. That used to be a mantra. We haven't seen anybody get locked up, have we? Not a damn person. There's nothing happening here. So anyways, a couple other things I want to hit before we're done. Some other, this is actually a fun one. This made me laugh. This is, speaking of flock cameras and of course Axon, which Trump owns stock in. Axon cameras are another version of flock cameras. They're out there. They're all over the place. Everybody talks about the flock cameras, but Axon does the same thing. The reason nobody's talking about Axon is that Axon's owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and Donald Trump owns shares. So nobody's talking about that. But they are talking about the flock cameras. And this was funny to me. Let me show you this. We got this guy. He dressed up as Darth Vader. Let's see what this guy had to say here. Oops. Oh, sorry. That's not the video. Where's the video? Oh, here it is. Here he is. Let's watch this guy.
The Emperor is a fan of flock, and we must continue utilizing flock technologies so that we can follow and surveil the rebel scum as they move from playground to playground, from playground to pool, from pool to gymnasium, because we all know that the flock cameras are not only following the license plate readers, they are following children. They are following children in parks and gymnasiums, and we need this. I need this so I can stop my ex-girlfriend. Also, it should be known that
his
the people of this town, the Pervs that want their storm drains cleared, they should not have their storm drains cleared. Because in order to do that, we will have to raise taxes. And how will the people trust this city council when this city council continues to vote for surveillance technology that imprisons them?
Amen. This goes on. This goes on, guys. I thought this was very clever and very funny. I mean, the guy dresses up as Darth Vader and then advocates for flock cameras. This was hilarious to me. And it's kind of, you got to laugh a little bit at this because, well, if you don't, you really get sick. But, these 15-minute cities, C40 cities, as Spare Me Your Angst is mentioning, it's appalling. It's appalling. And it's really about control. Everything right now is about control. We're building the digital prison. I think last night. I think we talked about crypto, and we talked about how that was going to work on the CBDC side, right? So there's crypto that's good and useful, and then there's crypto that's bad. And the government's trying to take over crypto, which is something we've got to fight. We got to be very careful with. But the digital prison is being built out one step after another. I mean, it's happening. So it's the flock cameras are key to this, but not Axon flock. It doesn't matter. It's all the same stuff. Um, again, should I support that? Am I infighting if I disagree with that policy, guys? Am I infighting? Is that what's happening there? Uh, I just don't think it is. I don't think this is infighting. I think this is something that's necessary. I think if you're not speaking out on this, there's a problem. Lindsey Graham's sister. This is important. This is Lindsey Graham's sister. Let me show you guys this because this is who's every bit as good as Lindsey Graham. Every bit who Trump loves. Here, let's listen.
I actually have a question for you, if that's okay.
Okay.
What is your opinion on abortion? And are you for at conception? Are you for, like, just kind of where you stand on the whole issue?
I support the 6-week South Carolina
Yeah.
abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about before that? What if they were to do a completely abolition of it?
I don't know. Let me think
You don't
about
know?
it. Yeah.
You don't know. Wait. So she supports the South Carolina 6 weeks, but she's not okay with banning abortion. Okay, so Darlene Graham, Lindsey Graham's sister, who they just gave this to, is who's going to take his seat. She is okay with abortion. We just want to be clear that Lindsey Graham's sister is fine with abortion. She thinks that you're not conception has nothing to do with it. At 6 weeks you become a baby. Before that, she's okay with killing it. So yeah, life does not begin at conception for Lindsey Graham's sister, Darlene Graham. And South Carolina, that is your U.S. Senate candidate. You went from one Graham traitor to the next, and we're stuck with another one. I don't know what else to say about it. All right, guys. Hey, make sure you're hitting like, share, comment, get involved. Get involved with us, TomRenz.com, GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. Help us share the show. Help the show continue growing. We're growing. We're doing some really good things right now. And that's thanks to you guys. I'm really grateful for everybody that watches and supports. Those likes, shares, and comments are huge. Keep them coming. Keep getting this word out. We're going to keep standing on principle, even if we get accused of infighting, even if testicle-free Dan Bongina disagrees with what we're doing. We're going to keep going. Thanks for watching. We'll be back very soon.